Our bodies are fluid factories, constantly producing, purging, and recycling secretions to fulfill all sorts of functions. Our reproductive organs are no exception. Vaginas are engaged in ongoing cycles of fluid discharge. But it can be hard to know what kind of discharge is normal when there's taboo in talking about it. And absorbency tests for menstrual products tend to show anonymous blue fluids. So, what's healthy discharge? And when is there cause for concern? Anyone who has a uterus might not experience much discharge early in life. But that changes with puberty, as the ovaries start producing estrogen. This causes the vagina's inner lining, or epithelium, to thicken and cycle faster. These vaginal epithelial cells, in turn, start producing more glycogen, which fuels the growth of lactic acid and hydrogen peroxide-producing lactobacillus bacteria, which make the vagina more acidic. Specialized goblet cells in the cervix also begin releasing more mucus, which is enriched with immunity-boosting proteins called immunoglobulins. The acidic environment, regenerating vaginal epithelium, and cervical mucus all help protect against infections. Vaginal discharge mainly consists of cervical mucus, sloughed epithelial cells, and bacteria, which all exit the vagina with the help of gravity. Because of its acidity, discharge can sometimes bleach or leave holes in fabric. But, of course, discharge varies considerably with the monthly menstrual cycle, in sync with shifting levels of hormones like estrogen and progesterone. During the first half of the menstrual cycle, known as the follicular phase, estrogen levels gradually increase as a new egg or follicle develops. The uterus's inner lining, the endometrium, thickens, preparing for an embryo to embed should an egg get fertilized. Early in the follicular phase, cervical goblet cells produce mucus that initially may be whitish, thick, or sticky. In the days prior to ovulation, as estrogen levels further increase and the ovary prepares to release an egg, these cervical goblet cells secrete a thinner, clearer mucus, which is easier for sperm to travel through. And in the days following ovulation, progesterone levels increase, stabilizing the endometrium in preparation for pregnancy. The cervix produces thicker, cloudier, and sometimes yellowy-colored mucus that now helps form a physical barrier against sperm and pathogens. If no embryo implants, estrogen and progesterone levels start falling, leading to menstruation. And over the course of around 2 to 7 days, the endometrium clears its excess tissues, and approximately 20 to 90 milliliters worth of menstrual fluid leaves the vagina. If a pregnancy does occur, it induces a surge in cervical mucus, which forms a thick, jelly-like plug that helps seal off the womb. Oftentimes, this mucus plug is discharged before labor as the cervix softens and opens. Meanwhile, factors beyond pregnancy and the usual ebb and flow of the menstrual cycle also influence vaginal discharge. Sexual arousal can trigger fluid to make its way out of tiny blood vessels and across the wall of the vagina. This clear vaginal transitate, comprised mostly of water and proteins, helps provide lubrication along with secretions from glands at the opening of the vagina. Hormonal contraceptives can also cause differences in discharge because they tend to cause thicker cervical mucus, similar to the kind otherwise associated with the 2-week phase following ovulation. Menopause also alters things. As estrogen levels decrease, the vaginal epithelium thins and proliferates at a slower rate. The cervix secretes less mucus, and the reproductive microbiome changes, resulting in less discharge overall. In addition to these shifting factors, everyone's baseline production of discharge varies greatly. What's important to note is if the baseline changes. For example, clumpy white discharge can occur when more yeast and epithelial cells are being shed than usual, and may indicate an active yeast infection. Thin, gray or white, odorous discharge, on the other hand, might be a sign that certain bacteria are flourishing and making the vagina less acidic, consistent with an infection called bacterial vaginosis. Sexually transmitted infections, polyps, hormonal disorders, and other conditions can also cause differences in discharge. Because changes may be caused by a number of things, instead of self-diagnosing, it's a good idea to have a doctor weigh in the case of any unusual bleeding, itching, pain, color, or odor. The usual variation in vaginal discharge, though, is simply a sign that the fluid factory of the body is at work and operating in good order. Do you ever feel like you don't know enough about your own body? Subscribe to this channel to learn about everything from baldness to muscle growth to why we have hair in such random places. Stay tuned and stay curious.